There are many things that we can do together. In the IT field, China is strong in hardware and relative to India much weaker in software. I think what ranking you have called SCI CMM or CMM SCI. I think these rank 5 countries or grade 5 companies. I think we have amongst the largest in the world, maybe more than even the United States. In terms of quality, we have demonstrated quality in automobile parts. The Deming Prize in China is won Deming Prize is won by India, that prize which is given by Japan. So automobile ancillaries is a great opportunity for India, where India and China can collaborate. Some work has already started, but more needs to be done. In software, NIIT, run by my former student in IIT, Dr. Rajendra Pawar, he has done a miracle there. It's worth going and seeing the way he has opened schools, and there is demand for it. This is one area where China would, if the relations are good, use Indian talent. India has an abundance of talent, and we could export teachers, educators, set up schools and so on in China. That's a great opportunity that exists. By the way, I must tell you that 20 years ago, the world was praising China for its one child per family policy. And they were making fun of India. Well, Mrs. Gandhi and her son Sanjay Gandhi thought that they would replicate it here, but unfortunately it backfired and they lost the election. And the net result is that that kind of policy was never properly not implemented. So India has had a birth rate declining, but it is very slow and gradual. Its death rate is declining faster. So there is a definite growth rate population is definitely high relative to China. But China implemented its one child per family policy, and today suddenly they find that after 2015, the proportion of population in the age group 15 to 64 is going to start shrinking. It's already shrinking in Europe. Japan, it is terrible. And the United States has managed to keep that proportion going because they have been quite liberal in imports, particularly from Mexico and Philippines. And so, therefore, United States has managed to fill that demographic hole. But India, by 2050, will have 50 million excess skilled manpower. And we are in a position to export that. And all the other countries will be deficit. China is going to be deficit after 2015. And I'll tell you what is the problem of a population which ages fast is that the number of people coming into the labor force becomes smaller than the number of people retiring and going, which means that in the past, the number of people who came into the labor force, the deductions in their salary and all went to pay the pension of those who are retiring, who are fewer in number. Now what is going to happen is that the number retiring will be larger, the number coming is smaller. So there is a pension bomb which is looming over as a crisis over all European countries. Greece's problem essentially comes out of that because they are unmanageable debt. All of them are going to have this problem. The only country which is not going to have this problem is our population problem has suddenly become a demographic dividend for us. I mean, those people who used to lecture us about the population problem, today they say India's demographic dividend. So it is a complete turnaround. And I have to thank the Indian people for having defeated Mrs. Gandhi on this issue. And therefore we have had, it's not that our population growth rate is going up, it's going down actually. But it's gradual, not the steep fall that China has had. And as a consequence, India is going to be placed in a very great advantageous position, provided this new young stock of labor is properly educated. And therefore the educational system becomes extremely important. I support the Government of India's new policy to allow foreign universities to come to India. A lot of people are protesting, particularly the left wing is protesting, thinking that if Harvard and Stanford and Columbia and all these universities come and open campuses in India, as the proposal now is, then that is good for us. And I think we should take advantage of it. And if the NRIs were to also do both, stay here as well as come and spend some time in setting up these institutions and helping them, then India would be in a tremendously strong position to be able to help the whole world, including China. Let me also say that economists recognize that the majority contribution to the acceleration in growth rate of any country is due to what they call as productivity. And productivity is due to innovation. Innovation is when you bring out new ways of doing things. And in this, Americans are past masters. They have a tremendous record on innovation. And on everything there's innovation. 20 years ago, the safety pins I used to buy in the market are different from the safety pins I buy today. All other parts of the world, the safety pin has not changed in design. But in the United States, some change is always there. They are all the time innovating. In 1987, I had come to teach for 2 years at Harvard. I had taken leave from politics and I came to Harvard to teach. And at that time, the talk was that America is going to be bought by Japan. In fact, Japan bought Rockefeller Center and there was a complete depression in this country at that time. But very soon afterwards, the Americans invented the internet. And the internet changed the way production is organized and brought this whole globalization process and cut the transaction costs. And the United States suddenly grew very fast in the 1990s and the early 21st century. And so one innovation changed everything. Today when I see what Apple is doing in its in iPad and iPhone and so on, you can see that the American enterprise is still there. So I will never not write off the Americans as the Americans themselves are writing themselves off. The Americans have the capacity to innovate, so they will be in the forefront. But the only other country who can match the Americans in the future in innovation is India. So therefore, if we can get our educational system in order, the infrastructure system first, then the educational system in order, then we will create a vast army of innovators. And these innovators will change the way we do production. And there are many, many areas where we need to do our research. Already, of course, the world recognizes it. Many of the research centers in China have now come to India. GE has brought the whole thing to India. The GE Capital has moved the whole thing to India. Cisco and Texas Instruments, and all them, they all moved to Bangalore. And so the world recognizes that India has that potential. China has a disadvantage there because although they are putting in a lot of money into research, they are putting a lot of money into the universities, they don't have democracy. Democracy is essential for innovation. And therefore they may have more investment, they may pump in more capital, they may have more labor, but ultimately their growth, future growth depends on innovation, and there we have a tremendous strength. We can therefore also collaborate with China on that. And we, consequently, the areas exist in vast numbers. Certainly I would say we will have to sooner or later export with China, compete with China in exports.